Need advice for starting a small cleaning business.
We've had to increase our prices accordingly. We've had staff turnover. Like, there's all these things that come with running a business. The thing is,
Before you accept $1, form your business. Get your LLC or your corporation before you accept $1. Because what happens is, all right, well, welcome back.
how are you?
How you doing, buddy?
I'm good.
This is Start It or Scrap It.
I know.
That's our name. I love it. That's our name. Start It or Scrap
It's
It.
about
great.
time.
Great name.
Episode what? 11, 12, whatever it is?
12, something like that,
okay.
I think, yeah. So, how you been, man? What's going on?
Not much.
Yeah?
No, just
How's the fam?
good. But I'm hearing a lot of business owners right now complain that things are okay.
Yeah.
Not good.
Not great, not good, but okay. But
okay.
better than bad.
Better than bad, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's universal. It's my roofers. It's
Yeah.
my wood guys that sell like firewood. The gutter cleaners. Like, it's across the board. Daycares. Like, it's across
Right.
the board. Like, it's like things are just dead.
I'll tell you the problem that we've been having here in my law practice and the software company too, but that I'm hearing from other clients as well is they can't get help. There's no people.
Yeah.
It's like, for example, I had 2 interviews scheduled for one for yesterday, one for today. Neither of them, no show, no call, nothing. Neither of them showed up. I don't get it.
It's so weird.
It's a weird time, man. So it's a really, really weird time. And these are good paying jobs, right? These aren't minimum wage jobs or anything like that. These are good full-time salary jobs with benefits, and
People don't show up.
They submit their. I don't know why bother submitting your resume then.
I don't know.
I don't get it.
Why book an interview?
Right? Why
Like,
take the time?
Submit your resume.
Well,
fine.
here's the funny thing. We do a Zoom interview first, right? And then if the Zoom interview goes well, we invite you in for a face-to-face. So we did the Zooms. So we already had the first round.
Damn. And then they
just ghost you on the second round. This is not the first time this has happened. I would say
that is so weird.
For every 10 candidates, that probably happens with 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we've had the same. I mean, for years we've had the same issue.
It's getting to the point where I'm even surprised when the person does show up. Like, oh my God, they showed up. Like, should we take bets?
Right. Yeah, I remember we put out, what was it, like 3 years ago? We put out an ad we got 22 applicants, 9 that responded to us, 5 that booked an interview, and the guy that got the job was the guy that actually showed up.
The one who showed up.
Correct.
Yeah. Right. Isn't that crazy? So I don't know what's going on in the world, man, but yeah, you're right. So business is, I don't want to say flatlined, but it certainly isn't. It's not that way. It's not like that either, though, which is good.
Correct.
But it's definitely flatlined. I know for me, it's flatlined only because I can't get help, and I can't take on too much more business without help.
Yeah.
Right.
No, these guys could do more work.
Right.
But it's just enough to keep them afloat.
Right.
They're not getting ahead. They're not falling behind.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, yeah. I want to say it for a lot of them. It is flatlined.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's the economy. I don't know.
I'm
whatever
sure it's
it
a
is.
part of it. I mean, things are more expensive, right?
True.
And in most cases, things are more expensive. Although, interestingly enough, the election was last night, right? We're not going to talk about the election, but the election was last night. But one of the charts that I saw was really interesting, and it showed all of the counties, every single county in America, and whether or not that county was, if their pay outpaced inflation. And the darker the county, the worse it was for the people in that county on, whether inflation was greater than the pay raises or increase in pay. And with the exception of like 5 counties in America, I think like 5 or 6 at the most from what I saw, everyone's like way below that line. Like not even just a little bit, but like way below, where inflation is so high compared to the increase in salaries.
We talk about
wages.
We talk about compounding effects all the time.
Yeah.
Right. So when you have something like inflation that is compounding, and then it's compounding at twice the rate of pay increases,
right,
it's going to be inevitable, right? Like there's no way around it.
Yep. So yeah, I'm sure that's a part of it. People would rather spend money on getting their roof fixed, but they have to put gas in the car and
Correct.
food on the table. So sometimes they have to make those hard decisions, and I can see where where people aren't able to do both. And I've seen it a lot.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So
we'll get there.
anyway, so let's see what's going on in the world of Reddit. Let's see what Reddit's got to say.
So just a quick reminder, if you're listening, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us a lot.
And don't forget the like button. That helps too.
The like button is really good.
The like button's a good thing.
So, so enough with the plugs. Let's
get back to it. All right, this one's cool. Craniac Froking says, how can I improve my Shopify e-commerce store? Oh, I like this because we're actually talking about starting a Shopify store for one of our clients, but we'll talk about that later. Mm-hmm. All right. Hey, everyone. I've been using this sub for the last year or so, and as I've launched my first business. So thank you all for the contributions. With that said, I'm ready for a good roasting. It's not a drop shipping store. And I took my time with sourcing manufacturers, designing the product and its packaging, and curating the brand. But I'm only one man, so please take a look. I'm open to constructive criticism. What are your thoughts as you navigate any pain points, anything you would like to see? Have fun with it. My store, basically, he does sunglasses on Google, and you want to put the link just in case. All right. So he's got a sunglass store on Google. All right, yep. Cool. Go. you're like begging to get into this one. Just go. Go ahead.
It's funny because there's a lady on TikTok.
There is
just one that literally did this.
Okay.
She got into the sunglass market, and she said never again because she underestimated. The more she put into ads, the more she got the brand out, the more she got her own style of glasses out, the faster the Chinese manufacturers came in.
Oh,
and sold,
really?
Oh, yeah. And sold the exact same product at a much lower price.
Yeah.
That it became unsustainable for her.
Wow.
Now, are there sunglass brands that could survive? Yeah. I mean, we saw Oakley in recent years, right? But there was a huge name behind it. So people were buying the name, not necessarily the style of sunglasses.
Right.
But this is one where I would tread carefully, build the brand first so that the brand becomes what people want to buy, and it doesn't matter what style it is that you're then selling. So this becomes like creating that subculture of sunglasses, like
what you're
Ray-Ban,
right, Oakley, etc. So what you're saying is it doesn't matter if there's a knockoff on Oakley, people still buy Oakley,
correct?
Because the name,
correct,
not so much the style of the glasses.
And you can make any Oakley style, and it can be available in other styles, but people will buy the Oakleys because they're Oakleys, right?
Right.
They know that it is supposed to be a better product than sunglasses that look the same, but may not have, the scratch-resistant lenses or any of that stuff. So
when you say the Chinese are knocking it off, are you saying that they copy the brand name too?
No.
So they give it a different name.
They give it a different name, but it looks exactly the same. They'll make a logo that looks close enough that from a distance you would probably be fooled.
The Simpsons did this years ago. Do you remember? I don't know if you watched The Simpsons when you were younger, but The Simpsons did this years ago where Homer walks into a TV shop and it's all knockoff brands. It's Sony, Panasonic. It's so funny.
Yep. But so growing the e-commerce store, the principles are easy. You can use AdWords, you can use Meta, you can use any of these platforms to start actually promoting it. And there's another guy that I know that actually specializes in this exactly, where they're getting somewhere between a 6 and 8x return running AdWords for product-based shopping only.
Oh, fantastic.
That's all they do.
That's great.
So, I mean, there's a market there. The margins are there. You can use these platforms to advertise. But once again, just be careful because the more popular you get, the more that product is being sold.
Yeah.
The faster the knockoffs will start showing up on Temu and Amazon and all these other places where they look exactly like yours,
right? But
they're 30% less expensive.
Okay. All right. And then, and just so you guys are aware, there's nothing you can do about it in China. They don't care. They it's funny. I'll actually tell a story about this. So, China doesn't care about international intellectual property. They don't care, and it's not like they don't care. Like, hey, we're going to rip everybody off. So when I was starting out in my career as an intellectual property attorney, it's one of the things I was like, I guess the Chinese government just doesn't care. I had a friend, his name was Don, and he went to China quite often for business. And he was in the intellectual property world as well. And he told me the story, and I was like, oh, okay, now it actually makes a little more sense. The reason, or at least this is his interpretation as to why they don't care about it. So the Chinese, as the country grew over thousands of years, it was always little villages, little pockets of population, never really a big overburdening governing body until recent years. And in order for these villages to survive, everybody had to share everything. And so the entire Chinese culture, again, this is his words, not mine, I've never been there, I don't know, was based on sharing everything. There was no such thing as, this is mine, you can't have it. Like intellectual property is, this is mine, you can't have it, right? I'm not sharing it with you. So because of that, I'm paraphrasing here. The Chinese system when it comes to intellectual property is everybody shares everything. There's no, this is yours, so no one else is allowed to use it. If it exists and it can help somebody else, they're going to use it too. And that's part of the reason, if not the reason, why the Chinese they make knockoffs of everything. They look at it as, hey, this can help my family, this can help my country, and we're going to use it. It doesn't matter what your laws say, this helps us. And that's more along the lines of what it is, as opposed to just a cash grab.
Interesting.
Now, it could be a cash grab, but again, I've never been there. I have no idea.
Considering that the Chinese government now forces companies that want to manufacture in China, you actually have to submit the drawings and all kinds of stuff of things you want to manufacture so that it becomes available to the Chinese government.
Yeah.
I'm like, that explains why certain things are assembled in China, but not manufactured in China.
Right.
Because like they don't want to hand over the recipe for a microchip.
Yeah.
Right. Like, but they have no problem that microchip being put into something like a phone.
Right.
They just don't want the chips manufactured there.
Right. So people know how to do it.
That's why there's a lot of high-end chips that are not manufactured in China.
Right.
So it makes sense.
Anyway, it was an interesting story.
It is. It's a cultural thing.
Okay. So yeah, Craniac Froking. I hope that helps. Build the brand. That's essentially that's the message here. Build the brand. You're never going to build the product. It's got to be about the brand. People have to want the brand.
Correct.
Yeah. All right.
I kind of like the name Freestylers.
Yeah, like, it is kind of cool.
You can do so much with that. You could get the skating community, the surf community, the mountain biking community, like
Freestyler sunglasses. I like it.
I do too.
Yeah, send a few to us. We'll check them out. We'll wear them on the next podcast. All right. Let's see. International COD 936 says worst oversaturated online business models. Well, there's quite a few of those.
Yes.
Oh, there's quite a few of those.
There's a lot of those.
All right. It says, question. I've been searching for ideas for small businesses and saw the same kind of business ideas suggested by quote unquote business gurus. Mm-hmm. I tried to open an e-commerce store with Shop Plaza to sell printful t-shirts designs. And I also tried to make an affiliate marketing website where I suggested gift ideas. While both projects came and went quickly, I learned some web design skills and how to set up an online business. I realized that my websites were following what everyone else is doing based on those help videos, and I would have to do a lot of content to start generating transactions to the website. Not to mention trying to get sales, which have pretty low margins. Also, I didn't have a real passion for any of these fields, so now I'm taking my time to narrow down what activities I would be happy to do for a long time. But the question is, what do you think are the worst online... So he's asking the question again. What are the worst online models? So I'm not even going to finish. So
all of them.
Yeah, they are. And what you're doing, what's this guy's name again? International COD. What you're doing is you were saying, okay, I want to be a Me Too. Right? Mm-hmm. What's working out there? Okay, me too. I want to do that also. Yes. Right? It never works. The Me Too's never work.
So before I say none of them work, all of them work.
Right.
Right.
For the few.
But that's like any business. When you look at how many businesses ever surpass $1 million in revenue.
Not a lot.
No, it's something like 10% of all businesses, right? Yeah. So it's not a matter of whether or not these models work. It's a matter of whether you work.
Right.
Right. So like if you understand it and you do the business side of things and you make the effort and you build it like a business, like what is it? Amazon FOB? Is that what it's called? Mm-hmm. Yeah. There are people out there making good money doing that, but they treat it like a business, right? Like they do research on their products before they bring them in. They look at numbers. They look at can I get bulk discounts on these items so that the margins are there. Like if you run it like an actual business, not like a hobby, yeah, you can get traction in any of this stuff.
Yeah.
But you have to run it like a business, not a hobby.
Because I'll tell you, the biggest lie on the internet is that there's such a thing as passive income. It's just not true. It's okay. There are things that you can put your blood, sweat, and tears into for a year or two to build to where you don't need to do anything anymore.
Right.
But you can't just click a button, put up a website, and they will come. It doesn't work like that.
The closest thing to passive income is real estate investors.
Yeah.
Right, like that's the closest thing you get, but you still have to then hire property managers. You have to,
but that's not online. I'm talking about online.
Correct.
Online income.
Online.
There's no such thing as passive income.
Not online.
There's no such thing as a drop shipping store where you don't have to do anything. It's not true. It doesn't exist.
It's funny because there's a guy that I enjoy his videos. He's a search engine optimization guy, and he decided to actually use his skills as a search engine guy to start building his own affiliate links, right? So he built his own website. I think he runs like a handful of websites now, but he basically uses his expertise with search engine optimization to promote actual products that he gets paid a commission on.
Okay.
So right now, for example, he just posted this, I want to say 6 months ago, I saw a video, and he posted a comparison blog on 3 different services, all 3 of which he has an affiliate link to.
Okay.
That single page, that single comparison page makes him $280,000 a year in commissions.
Wow.
But he had to build up the entire website.
And how long did that take?
All that process, it
takes a while.
It took years for him to be able to build all this out, right? And now you also have to maintain it because search engines will swap you out. If someone makes better content, if someone does something better, you may get swapped out, right? Google may one day decide that they're going to demote any page that has an affiliate link on it, right? Like there's all these things that can happen. And you, if you're not treating it like a business, you wouldn't know how to respond to it. But if you have an expertise, if you can make phenomenal videos, if you're a great editor, if you know how to do search engine optimization, if you know how to do the marketing side of any of this, all of these affiliate programs, all of this stuff can work for you. It's just a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
And that's the thing, people, I don't know where this mentality came. Maybe that's why people don't show up for job interviews. I don't know where the mentality came from that you don't have to put in a lot of work these days. It's easy to get money. No, it's not. Sometimes it's harder than ever.
Yeah.
It used to be, I'd never say it was easy, but it used to be easier to earn cash. Let's say before the internet, right? Go start a business, do a good job, and people pay you, right? And a lot of times, it doesn't matter if there's 10,000 other people who do the same thing. People can't find you. The people can't find them. They can only find you. That's the only advantage you would need.
Yep.
Nowadays, you don't even have that advantage because one click of a search on Google or Bing or something like that, and people will find all 10,000 of your competitors.
Yes.
So now you really need to stand out and do a good job, right? And then there's the reviews and everything along with. So I would argue it's even harder today to earn money in this world. There's a lot more opportunities to earn money.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you get to earn money. It's not just given to you. There's a lot of work that goes into it.
There's also the competition has become drastically more for these things. Oh my gosh,
yes.
Like I'm looking at this whole because the newest venture that I fascinated me was you have TikTok Shop that just launched a few months ago. You have YouTube Shop is now going to be opening.
I heard about that.
You're probably going to see Facebook has kind of always had it.
The marketplace.
The marketplace, but they're actually taking it a step further.
Because they don't make money off the marketplace, right?
No.
Just ads.
Correct.
Yeah.
Not unless there's an actual transaction that takes place through the Meta payment system, whatever.
Right.
But the problem is when you have something like, let's take TikTok Shop, because they were kind of the first ones to kind of roll it out, is first of all, you got to find all the vendors that are going to be selling the products. Right. Then you have to find the people that want to use the products in order to promote them. Then you have all these rules for who can become an affiliate, because you need a baseline standard, right? So now you met all those requirements. They found the products. They happen to have products you like. You go out and you get your 1,000 followers, your 5,000 followers, whatever you have to get. And now you have to start promoting this content. And I was talking to someone as recently as last night that is just getting started in this TikTok shop. And she is not doing it as a primary income. She just wants to do it to get a few extra bucks to cover the electric bill.
Sure. And to learn.
And to learn
how
it
works.
What she was saying is that the people that are doing really well with this are spending somewhere between 4 and 9 hours every day
working on it,
testing products, coming up with scripts, recording the videos.
That's the key.
Right?
The tests.
It is.
Right. Yes. You don't just put it up. You got to put it up along with 100 different variations to see which ones work.
Yeah. And then the sad part is, let's say someone buys something because of a video you did. They now get the product, and everything you said about that product ends up being crap.
Yeah.
The next time they see your face on their screen, you could be selling the cure to cancer, and they're going to be like, nope. Right? So it's all of those things that, like, it is a lot of work, and people don't understand how much work it is. But there's a reason they call it affiliate marketing. Marketing being the key word is that you literally become a commission salesperson. So if you don't have marketing and sales skills, you probably should not get into something that has freaking marketing in the name.
You're absolutely right. Or if you don't have the skills, go learn the skills. Mm-hmm. But stop listening to people that are telling you, oh, it's easy to do, it's easy income. It's not. Nope. It's a lot of work. And I applaud you if you go out and learn how to do it and you do it right and you start making money. Awesome. That's fantastic. That's what we want for you. But don't fall into don't believe in the lie. Don't fall into the trap of, I'll spend 2 hours putting up a website and I'm going to make millions of dollars. No. It's not going to work.
No.
I'm not saying there aren't examples of where that could work, but usually the way it works is you already have some type of following. You're just pointing people to a different place.
The funny thing is people always look at guys like Mr. Beast, right? And they go, oh, well, he did it. I'm like, go read his story.
Yeah.
Like literally go read his story, because he started as a teen doing dumb videos on YouTube. And I think they still have some of his like original videos, right?
There,
and I'm like, this guy lives, eats, breathes, sleeps Mr. Beast.
Yes.
Right? Like that is his entire
persona.
life.
It is his persona. He's not even Jimmy anymore. He is Mr. Beast to the world. Yeah.
And everything he makes goes right back into making the next video and the next video.
In fact, he just did an interview on that where he personally, if I remember correctly, apologize, Mr. Beast, if I'm wrong on this, he hasn't taken any money out of the business in a while now. It all goes back into the business.
Yep. I think
and he needs to get, and he's getting more sponsors because the prizes are getting bigger and the contraptions are getting larger, and all the production of and editing, it's cost a lot of money.
Yes.
And everyone thinks, oh, this guy's making millions of dollars per video. He's not.
Well,
he's not. No, he's not making millions of dollars.
The business, Mr. Beast, business is absolutely pulling that in.
But think of all the people that are involved in it.
Correct, but they reinvested in the business.
Exactly.
Right? Which is why he's been able to launch things like the Mr. Beast burger.
Yeah, have you had that, by the way?
I have not.
Me either. My son and I have been dying to try it. There's one place around here that serves it.
Yeah,
it's in King of Prussia.
I've not been dying to try it either.
I have. We're burger people.
That's okay. But yeah, so like all of these, the online stuff, the digital marketing, the becoming a YouTuber, the becoming a influencer, affiliate marketing, all of it is doable, but you have to remember, it's like going to Hollywood to become an A-list actor.
Right.
It happens to a tiny percentage of those that want it. Out of all those that want it, a small percentage actually goes and chases after it.
Yep.
Out of those that chase after it, only a small percentage stick with it.
Right.
And only a small percentage of those that stick with it actually end up seeing success.
Yeah, just
This is
professional sports is the same way, right?
Correct. All of it.
Remember Terrell Owens?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, T.O.?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm a Cowboys fan. Of course I remember T.O.
we don't talk about that here.
We do talk about
No,
that
we don't.
here.
Anyway. Philadelphia over here, that's why. Anyway, do you remember when he came to Philadelphia and he showed the news, they put on the news his workout routine? It was insane. Yeah. It was like it was inhuman.
Yeah.
What he would do and he'd been doing that since he was a kid.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Yes.
And it wasn't like, yeah, I'll do this once in a while. And that's what it takes to be a star athlete. That's what it takes, to be a star social media influencer. Mm-hmm. You are not just out there putting your face on screen and everyone's coming to you.
And it's funny because they even look at who's that dude that's fighting Tyson soon?
Oh,
Jake Paul.
Yeah.
Like even he had a career before he started doing the YouTube thing.
Right.
The Kelsey brothers, they were both known. They started doing a podcast thing. Do you have a head start when you're already excelling at something else?
Absolutely. Yeah.
100%, right?
Yeah. Do you think anyone would be listening to Jason and Travis Kelce if they weren't NFL stars? No.
Probably not.
I mean,
No.
maybe after a couple of years if they had good content.
Correct.
Right?
But
Joe Rogan wasn't a success overnight.
Dude, Joe Rogan...
he's been hitting the streets for 20 years or something like that.
Joe Rogan almost quit his podcast.
Yeah.
The only reason he kept doing it is because he really liked it.
Yeah.
And he's like, then one day it just took off.
And that's how it happens.
Same thing with infotainment. Is that what they're called?
There is a company called Infotainment, yeah.
They have a podcast as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, we lost money on that podcast for 2 years. He's like, then we did one short. The short got 15 million views. And all of a sudden, the podcast just took off.
Yep.
Right? It was one short that triggered all of it.
Right.
And it's like, I saw it on one of my TikTok accounts. I had a video hit, 7.1 million views? We gained 40,000 followers in 3 days.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and it's funny because I saw a guy saying this the other day, right? Is if lottery tickets were free, right? How many would you take?
Right.
Right? And he goes, TikTok is free. YouTube Shorts is free.
Right.
You could be putting out 10 videos a day. Look at each one of them as a lottery ticket. The problem is, even if the lottery tickets are free,
you still have to scratch them off.
You're too lazy to go get them, first of all.
Right.
Right? And then you're too lazy to scratch them.
Right.
And then you wonder why you're not winning? Like, really? But yes, you can start anywhere. But you have to start somewhere.
Funny Mr. Beast lottery video that he did years ago was they bought, I think it was Mr. Beast, maybe it was someone else, but they bought like $50,000 worth of $1 lottery tickets, or maybe it was $20. He had stacks of tickets, and it took him like 8 hours to scratch them all off. Now, on the video, you see it all happen in 15 minutes, and it sounds, it's a piece of cake. But think about that. 8 hours of sitting there scratching off lottery tickets. And in the end, of course, they didn't win anything. I think they spent $50,000 and got like 35 back or something.
It's crazy.
But think about what goes into that. Mm-hmm. So again, no such thing as a free lunch. Well, unless you come to my office, I'll get you a free lunch because I like you. But seriously, no, you're going to put work into it no matter what it is. So this delusion of passive income, not without a ton of work beforehand.
Correct.
So, all right. Anyway, international COD, oversaturated business, online business models, all of them. They're all oversaturated. But actually, that doesn't mean you can't get in there and do something good and make some money.
And I think almost every market is oversaturated.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Does anyone else totally regret starting their towing business? Oh, this one, I'm very interested in this one.
Me too.
All right, so this is from Wooden Chart 7368. Wanted to get some thoughts from others that were involved in a different industry or endeavor before starting their own towing business. I started mine 6+ years ago and grew it fairly quickly. We have a large fleet, 30+ trucks. Wow, that is pretty big. Mm-hmm. And run all types of towing except repo and residential towaways. Oh, thank you. That's good. You're not the guys that go after people that are already down on their luck. Everything has been fine, but lately the burnout is real. All the things that come with being in the industry are just catching up and making me feel like I could have done much better with a lot less headaches in a different industry. From the caliber of employees to damage claims, rising insurance costs to the point of profits being squeezed, new equipment prices skyrocketing and used equipment prices plummeting, constant problems and headaches to deal with that arise on a daily basis. There are just so many moving pieces, literally and figuratively, that at this point I just wake up each day hoping to get through the day. The excitement, fun, and allure of growing the company is all gone. Has anyone successfully made it out of this industry and into something else? How is it? Did you feel a weight lifted off your shoulders? How did you get out? Ready? That's every business.
100%.
You just described every business owner in America.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
We, our buddy, Dr. Mark, just sent out a survey to a bunch of people about this.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
the burnout is real. Burnout is
100%.
absolutely real. It doesn't matter.
Dude,
I run multiple businesses now, right? I have the software company. I have the law practice. I have the real estate stuff. And it's all burnout. But you get through it, because you got to find the little things inside of it that make you happy.
I still remember when I talked to you the one day and you were like, I'm done with this real estate stuff.
Oh my God.
I am not dealing with renters anymore. I was like, well, right. But we've all been there, done that. Right. So yes, we're all seeing rising insurance costs. We're all seeing equipment costing more. Like I buy printers that used to be $20,000 a pop. Now they're $40,000 a pop. Right. Like we've had to increase our prices accordingly. We've had staff turnover. Like there's all these things that come with running a business. The thing is, I come down to two things. If you put procedures, processes, and all that stuff in place and you hire someone in to do some of these things, which is what I ended up having to do, it takes a lot of that off your shoulders and allows you as the business owner to focus back on what you enjoyed, which was the growth, the fun,
business,
the fun part of the business,
the actual running the business. Yes.
When you get into the weeds as a business owner, you're doing all the wrong things because that should not be your job. That should be someone else's job, and you should be focused on going from 30 to 40 trucks.
Right.
And we all hit that point in our business where we're in that in between, where it's really painful to hire someone as a business manager or a CEO or to run the day-to-day type business, because those people, when they're good, cost a lot of money. But your job then as a business owner is to go out and get the additional revenue and let that manager or that CEO, whatever you want to call it, let them deal with all of this stuff.
Yep.
I still think that's one of the best ways to deal with burnout is unload the stuff that's dragging you down onto someone else, pay them well for it, and focus on the stuff you do well.
Yeah. First off, if you're running a tow trucking business with 30 plus trucks, you've done something right. Mm-hmm. I mean, most companies probably have 2, 5, maybe not a lot of trucks in that business. Nope. I would imagine. So you're obviously doing something right. And like you said, Gummi, your job now should not be to do the day to day. Your job should be, how do I grow from 30 to 40 to 50? What's the 5-year or 3-year projection on this thing? Where do I go get investment capital? That should be your job now. Your job should be running the business. So in that life cycle, that's where the burnout goes away. Like you said, it starts with you actually doing the physical work, right? To the business growing while you're doing the work. But once you get to a point, you need to step away from doing the work and have someone else do it while you change over into a different part of the business, which is running the business, right? And that's where the burnout goes away, because now you're doing something new and fun and exciting, right? We all get into the business at first. The first couple of years is always fun.
It's always this, or you're working in your business or on your business.
Right.
And I don't think people really understand the difference, right? So if you're doing the work that you're getting paid hourly for, that a customer is paying you for, you're not working on the business, you're working in the business. If you are working on getting a contract with an insurance company to do all their towing, you're working on the business. Right? And it's that fine line. I always say, if it's not focused on the sales and growth part of the business or making the business more efficient, you are now working in it.
Yep.
Anything other than those things is working in the business. Right? And I always remember the story with Elon Musk.
Yeah.
When they were like, they were days away from being bankrupt, basically shutting down the business, right?
Yeah.
And he went and worked on the factory floor, right? So he was working in the business, not on it, but he was really working on it because he went in to try to figure out firsthand where's the lack of efficiency, right? And like, I think there's stories where he's like, I slept on the factory floor.
He slept on the floor, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But he was trying to figure out like, how do we become more efficient? Because without the efficiency, we can't function. Like, we're losing money on every car going out.
Right.
And I don't know how long it took him, but apparently he figured
something out. Yeah.
I think we talked about this previously.
We probably did.
Part of the problem were the robots. The robots.
Oh, right. Yeah,
the
we did talk about
robots were actually slowing down the production process instead of speeding it up. So they pulled robots off the line and put humans in. Mm-hmm. And the efficiency, despite the additional cost of wages, was still enough to help turn them around.
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of what I think the stage this guy's at. Because I hit that stage in my business too, where I was literally sitting there coming up with marketing campaigns and writing copy and doing all these things. Yeah. And one day I was like, why am I doing this? Like, why don't I have a copywriter? And it was do I have the money to go pay them? Well, no, but I won't have the money if I don't go sell.
Right.
So it's a catch-22, right? So I decided, okay, let's bring in a part-time copywriter. I went out and started selling again. Lo and behold, 6 months later, we had a full-time copywriter, and I was now doing the stuff again that I love doing, right? But and another thing, like he's talking about like margins being squeezed. As business owners, we are incredibly afraid of raising our prices. And I've fallen into that trap. And I remember, I think it was January of this year, I walked into my office on a random Monday morning because I had a miserable weekend because like burnout. I walked in and I'm like, raise all our prices by 20%.
Blanket, across the board.
Across the board. I don't care what it is, just raise it 20%.
Yeah.
And, my finance lady was like, oh, we have to notify our customers. And blah. I'm like, no, just raise.
All new stuff.
Just raise everything by 20%.
Really?
And let's see how many customers we lose. So we had one customer that emailed us and said, hey, your bill has gone up 20%. And I emailed her back, said, yeah, that's our price increase for the year. Well, it would have been nice to get a heads up. I'm like, oh, I apologize. But do you want to cancel? No?
No.
Okay.
But you're doing a good job.
Right. Like, so, and that's the thing, like, I use this as an example that if you're winning every job you quote, you're underpriced.
Yeah.
Right? You should be winning somewhere between 80 to 90% of your jobs because then you're right in the sweet spot of the audience you're serving. Right?
Right.
So different audiences have different price points. So like you could be a plumber in one area and people think it's a lot to pay you $80 an hour, but you're a plumber in a different area and they don't bat an eye at paying you $200 an hour. Mm-hmm. Right? So you kind of have to take that into consideration when your pricing is who am I serving? And what is that price point where 80 to 90% of customers would pay it and I would lose 10% of them, but the efficiency just goes up and your profit margins go up.
And and when you get more revenues in, you get more money in, that really helps with the burnout too.
It does.
It really does.
Like I think my beginning symptoms of burnout was when I realized that our margins were shrinking and I felt like I was doing more work for less money.
Right.
And that's kind of what led to the whole, I went down this rabbit hole of like looking at pricing and pricing models and like, why do we come up with the prices the way we do it? Which led to me that Monday morning coming in and saying, jack them up 20%.
Right.
Like, I don't care. And it immediately fixed our margins. And I was like, oh, I could have done this 6 months ago. Right.
Right.
But 20% was probably pushing it, but we still got away with it. And we literally had the conversation 3 months later. Should we push it up another 10%? Like if we didn't lose a single customer at 20%, like
you don't push the envelope too far though.
Correct. Right. And that's ultimately what we decided.
Right.
But from that point on, now we review our prices every 6 months. We look at our expenses and go, if our expenses go up, that means we got to raise prices. And rather than having to take these 20% leaps, we'd rather increase it 5% twice a year, right? Rather than a big jump. But as a business owner, don't be afraid to raise your prices.
Now
you can always lower them. You can always, but like,
oh yeah, sure. If you can always make special agreements with certain clients.
If you're undercharging, you're going to go through burnout faster than you realize.
In my industry, in the legal world, we can't just raise prices. We have to give our clients notice. I think it's 90 days. We have to let them know 90 days ahead of time before we can raise our rates. But fortunately, I think we raised our rates once. And we're good. Believe me, we're right in that, because one of the good things is with our industry, we generally know what our competitors or other attorneys are charging hourly.
Most industries know what their competitors are charging.
They should. Like they should.
You kind of know. Like I know what other people in my industry are charging.
Right.
And I try to make sure that I look at like our competitor level, like who we consider head-on competitors.
Yeah.
And I'm always priced 20% higher than they are.
Are you?
Always. Because we do more work than they do, and we do it differently.
And there's an argument, to that too, because even if you're higher, you would think, oh, you're going to get less customers. Well, sometimes that's not a bad thing, because sometimes the ones that are looking for the lowest price are the ones that are going to work you the most.
Correct. Right? I always say,
and then not pay.
I always say it's the people that pay me the least that want the most attention and have the highest expectations.
Right.
The guy that throws 10 grand at me a month has expectations, but he's not calling me once every 10 days to find out how his campaign is doing.
Right.
Right?
He's waiting for his monthly reports. And unless something doesn't make sense, you probably won't hear from him.
Correct.
You just get that check every month.
The people that pay us the most is probably the ones we hear the least from.
Yeah.
Right? Like I always say there's a sweet spot to your customer, is the one that just trusts that you're doing the work, assuming you're actually doing the work, of course. That doesn't really want to bother you and doesn't want to be bothered. He just trusts that you're doing what you say you're going to do. Right? And in our industry, that sweet spot is about, call it $2,000 a month in spend.
Okay.
Because we have the conversation with them beforehand. Like if you need a return on your $2,000 a month for the first 6 months, you shouldn't be doing this.
Right.
If you have to call me every 15 days because you're worried about what's happening to your $2,000, you should not be doing this at all. Right? Like we don't want to work with you if that's the case.
No, that makes sense, because the people that are giving you the money that, number one, you deserve for what you do, generally understand sometimes it takes time. You're an expert in your field. Let him do his job, right?
Correct.
Whereas sometimes the people that come in with the pinched pockets and are like, I'm reluctantly giving you this money, I expect immediate returns.
Correct.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like my field, marketing, that's not how it works.
No, that takes time.
Even fine tuning something like, and I don't even do this, but like shopping campaigns on AdWords, they can take weeks of data collection before they can fine tune them.
Right.
Like you could be seeing a 1x or a negative return for your first 3 to 4 months on that. But once they fine tune it, like once you work through the process, they can get them to 6, 7, 8x returns. But you lost a boatload of money in the beginning because it was just the process that naturally has to happen.
Right.
Sometimes there's an advantage, right? Like I tell people quite frequently, find a marketing company that has worked in your industry before, right? Because they have already learned a few things. So now you're getting additional expertise. It's like the difference between, I wouldn't go see a family lawyer for a business contract.
Right.
Right? Like it wouldn't make sense. So you wouldn't go to a national agency that specializes in brand marketing across the US if you're a local plumber.
Right.
Like they don't function on that scale. And that's what I mean. Like, and if you can find a company that has worked with a plumber that is in the next state or the next county over and is willing to work with you as well, they probably already know certain things that are going to benefit you. So like when you hire anybody to do marketing, it should be an interview on both parts.
Right.
The marketing company should be interviewing you to see whether you're a good fit, and you should be interviewing them to see if they have any type of knowledge that could work to your benefit, basically shortcutting that time where you're not wasting money in the beginning doing the trial and error stuff.
Now, we got a little off track here, but that's okay. So coming back to basics here for Wooden Chart. I mean, there's burnout in every business, right? There's always going to be burnout. Your job is to, as a business owner, is to it's going to happen. You're going to face it. So then when it does come, you have to figure out, what do I need to do to get away from that, right? And it's not shut the business down. It's not going to a different industry. You're just going to get there again. It's just
correct
if you're successful anyway. So like we talked about earlier, grow the business. Your job should be from doing the day-to-day and worrying about the day-to-day to how do I get the business to the next level. You should be out there selling and getting capital investment, et cetera, to grow the business. And that should be your new strategy, and that will help stave off the burnout because now you'll be in a completely different field with the business, which, again, usually is new and exciting. So best of luck to you. I wonder, did you say where he's located? I don't think you did say where he was located. What area?
Nope.
No. Okay, no worries. All right, moving on. Oh, this one's all you. Marketing scams geared towards small businesses.
They're all over the place all the time.
I know. This is from Ms. Courtney R. I would love some advice. I'm not going through the whole thing, but I would love some advice. If you have used these companies, please let me know. Oh, this is just about specific companies. But let's talk about marketing scams. You obviously would know way more about this than I would, so please.
So it's not that I call them marketing scams. It's just you have to understand what you're buying, right? So I will take a company like Yellow Pages, right? Because I always said Yellow Pages is a scam. And I didn't mean that as they're an actual scam.
Hold on. You're talking about the original Yellow Page, like the big book that you would get at home?
No. So they became yellowpages.com.
Oh, okay,
right?
okay.
So I remember very early on when they were huge online and they were basically the directory that got ranked. This is before Google started their Google business. Like if you would search plumber in
right, the Yellow Pages will come up. That's right. I remember that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. So what Yellow Pages used to do is they would go in and they would sell you on a AdWords campaign or like a pay-per-click campaign. What they didn't tell you is that they were charging you on two fronts. They were charging you for the actual Google ads you were running, and then they were charging you for ads that they were running on yellowpages.com promoting your listing.
Get out.
No, did you not? Right? And I always called it a scam. And then the more I thought about it, and I'm like, well, it's technically not really a scam because it's no different than Angie's List running ads to try to get you to work on a project and then sell those leads to a vendor, right? But as far as, once again, I don't want to call them scams. It's just they cater to a specific business. So another one that I can't stand personally is like Dex Media, right? And I get it. Like I get their business model. It's really good. Are you going to be seeing phenomenal results with them? Probably not. If you go with a big enough plan, you might. But there are certain things that they do really well. Like they run their own business directories. They run all kinds of stuff where they put you up there as another way for people to find you. It's a great way to get link building back to your website. There's a lot of positive things to it. You have to understand as the small business owner, what am I buying and what is the ultimate goal? What am I looking to get out of it? Because I remember a few years ago, the furniture store up the street calls me and I go up and I see them and they're like, hey, we want to rank number 1 for the word furniture. Okay.
How many years and millions of dollars do you have?
I was like, so let me throw this at you. I told him. He's like, a buddy of mine actually happens to work for this small company called IKEA in their online department.
Perhaps you've heard of them.
Perhaps you've heard of them, right? And just to give you an idea, right now, they have a 7-man team working on their digital marketing and their website and optimization and keyword research and all that stuff. Yep. I'm like, so do you have that type of budget? And he just sat there and looked at me, right? So is it realistic to show up for the word furniture? No. Would it be realistic to show up for Lazy Boy dealer near me? Yes. Right? So you really have to understand what you're buying in that sense. Now, it could cost you 10 grand to start showing up as Lazy Boy dealer near me. So how many Lazy Boys do you have to sell to cover those 10 grand?
Right.
Plus the cost of the chair, plus the cost of running the business. So when you are hiring a marketing company as a small business for $600 a month, you will get a bunch of jack and nothing, right? Because there is hardly anything you can do for $600 a month.
Right.
I'm dealing with a travel agent right now. And she's like, oh yeah, we've been paying these people to do blogging and stuff. And I went and looked at the blog. Their keyword density is like 0.7%.
Oh, gosh.
Should be 2%, right? They're writing about topics that are in a totally oversaturated market that the travel agent doesn't even really want to do. But there has been no communication from the marketing company to her, what type of travel do you specialize in? What type of travel do you really want to be selling?
Right.
Who do you want to be talking to? None of those conversations took place. I'm like, so who's at fault? The marketing company or the small business? Right? I say it's a little bit of both. The marketing company should be asking you.
Marketing company should be leading that drive. Absolutely.
100%. But it's like I always say, if you're hiring a website designer, right? Understand you're hiring a website designer, not a marketer. And I always tell people the way you can tell the difference is the website designer will look at you and go, so what do you want on your website?
Right.
The marketing company will tell you what you should be putting on your website. Right. But those are the two different. And so many times I have people come to me and they're like, well, my website designer never told me that my calls to actions were weak. Well, my website designer never told me that H1 and H2s matter.
Right.
And I'm like, because he's not an SEO guy. You hired a website designer and that's what you got.
A lot of, and when I used to be in that world, still am a little bit, but when I used to be in that world, people used to think that they were all one and the same. Mm-hmm. If you can make a website, you can do everything that's associated with that. Mm-hmm. Why am I not getting more traffic to my site? Why are my emails bouncing? Why? I kid you not. I had a guy once who we built and hosted his website call me, and I'm not kidding here, because his fax machine wasn't working.
Yes, because that's tied to the website.
He actually called and wanted to know why his fax machine wasn't working. And he wouldn't take, they're not related, for an answer. I had for like 5 minutes, I'm on the phone with the guy explaining to him how the fax machine has nothing to do with the website. This is like 20 years ago, but still.
But his fax number is on the website. It's got to be connected, right? But yeah, it's one of those. So, with these marketing scams, there are obvious indicators. Like if they want you to pay up front to even have a conversation with you about what your goals are, I would question that, right? Because they should be having that conversation with you to even see whether you're a good fit or not. But I've seen companies out there charge, God, what was the one Laurel from our group. There was a company that they were consulting with, had paid an SEO company $10,000 a month for 6 months. They were getting tons of traffic to their website, like tons of traffic for that $60,000 with 0 conversions.
Right, because it wasn't qualified traffic. It wasn't the traffic that they wanted. It was just traffic. It was clicks. Correct. That's all it was.
It was traffic to be traffic.
Oh, right? I can get you 1 million people to your website tomorrow if you want.
Correct.
But it's not going to be anybody that interacts with your products or service.
So now that begs the question, well, is that a scam? Right? Like going after traffic just to get traffic so that I can send you a report and show, oh, you got an extra 1,000 visitors this month. Yeah. And you go, but there were 0 sales.
Right.
Is it a scam? Did I promise more traffic?
Right. Exactly.
Right? If I promise more traffic, keep in mind that traffic can be generated in multiple ways.
So then that's the question then. Okay. So what makes it a scam, right? I would say what makes it a scam is if they are promising to deliver X, but don't deliver X, that certainly would make it a scam. But then as a business owner who has no experience in marketing, you're not going to know what questions to ask. You're not going to realize that 1,000 more visitors a month does not equate to any money necessarily.
Correct.
And you're not going to realize to ask that question. So when they come to you and say, "Hey, I want to give you 10,000 more visitors next month, and all you got to do is pay me $5,000," sounds fantastic until the first few months go by and you realize you got $0 out of that, right? So that's your question. Does that make it a scam? I don't think it does.
No, I don't think either. Right?
I don't think it makes it a scam. I think the marketing company should be doing better.
Yes.
But then again, I hate to use the word predatory, but could that be considered predatory tactics?
So
right?
So now I'm going to defend my own industry real quick.
Please.
Is that a lot of times certain traffic, even though it would be considered informational traffic, can also become transactional traffic.
Of course, it can.
So we jokingly always say you have to get views before you get sales, right? So the theory is if I get you more views, sales should follow.
Sure.
The problem comes in when companies like this go in and create an article like how to fix your treadmill. And it walks you through how to fix your treadmill versus optimizing for local guy to fix my treadmill. One is you're driving the DIYers
right
to your website.
And
right?
they're not going to hire you. Right.
They might not, right? Versus if you start optimizing immediately for, the repair guy near me, that the return on investment for that second term is probably going to be far higher. Mm-hmm. You're going to get way more traffic for the DIY stuff.
Right.
But I jokingly say, and not jokingly, would you rather have 10,000 visitors and no business or 10 visitors and one piece of business?
Right.
Right? Because the numbers look really good on one side for the visitors and for impressions and like all the fancy stuff people like to look at.
So, but it still begs the question now, if the marketing company knows that they can drive traffic, mm-hmm. but also knows that traffic probably won't result in any sales, do they have an obligation to let you know that information?
So I don't think they have an obligation. Should they? Yes. Should they be monitoring that if they drove 5,000 visitors for this keyword right. and they never called you to ask, hey, did you get any business from this?
Right.
That's a them problem, right? Like they should be doing their homework because ultimately if I'm taking money from you and I deliver no results, what's going to happen?
Right.
You're going to
fire me. Yeah, at some point.
Correct. So like it's in their best interest to do it, but there are legit scams out there too, like what this guy is probably talking about, where they are taking your money and they're not really doing any work.
Oh, they're not doing anything. Yeah.
Correct. And there's marketing scams in multiple ways. Like since we were talking about affiliate marketing and that stuff earlier, right? So let's say that I am selling a program to you about how to do marketing and how to sell something, and I'm asking you to sell the same program that I'm selling to you. So basically, I'm training you on sales and marketing. I'm charging you $5,000 to go through our training,
right?
But you get $500 every time you sell that consecutive training, right?
MLM.
But I know the success rate is really only like 0.2%. Is that a scam, or am I just really good at selling you a BS?
I think you're just really good at selling it. I don't consider it a scam. As long as I would say the scam is, or a scam is not, as long as the information is there and you get to make the decision on what you want to do, and what they deliver does not deviate from what they presented, it's not a scam.
Correct.
You just made a bad choice.
I think a scam is when they take your money with no intent of giving you anything in return.
Or no intent on giving you what they said they were going to give you.
Correct. Right? But just because they do a bad job or they're overpriced for what they're doing,
right?
That's not a scam.
That's a scam.
That's a bad purchase decision on your behalf.
That's a bad decision.
Yes,
that's what that is. So, anyway, so there you go. That's our opinion on what marketing scams are. So, Ms. Courtney R., good luck to you.
Oh, and hard sells like Yelp. Like they hard sell you.
Oh, I don't even want to talk about that.
No, but like I just use them. But there are marketing companies out there that literally, it's like we all get that phone call. Hey, your Google business listing is unverified. Press 1 to verify your business listing. And then on the other end, you get somebody convincing you should give them access to it and they should file it for you. They're hard sells.
Yeah.
They're not scams per se. They just found a niche business model.
Sure.
Product, overpriced.
Again, as long as they say, we're going to do X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
You give me money, and then you give them money, and they do X, Y, and Z.
You're good.
And then you realize, X, Y, and Z didn't equate to any. it's not a scam.
It's
they did X, Y, and Z.
It's a bad business decision.
You don't understand the business model and what they're doing and how it affects you. You've learned from it. Think of it as a class. You pay money to go to class. You paid money to go to class here. All right. Get a Grip Zero says, need advice for starting a small cleaning business. Hello, everyone. Why are you laughing?
Because I literally had this conversation with my brother-in-law and his girlfriend because they are starting a cleaning business. I think we've
all had this conversation with someone recently. Hello, everyone. I'm hoping to start a small cleaning business. Just me, myself, and I. I was wondering how to do so. My questions are, how do I advertise my hours since I will be working a part-time job certain days of the week? How will I accept payments like cash? Is cash only acceptable or taking Venmo, Cash App, etc.? What kind of services do you offer beyond basic household tasks? Like if someone wants me to help them clear a garage out or a basement or something like a larger job, and how much do I need to be pricing everything? Sorry, this is all very new and confusing. Any advice is greatly appreciated. All right, well, the first thing is, all right, let's look at the hours, okay? If you have a part-time job and you're doing this at odd hours, don't post your hours.
No.
When you go and you make your deals with your clients, you set your hours with your customers then.
Correct.
That's easy enough. I would not post my hours to anyone because what's going to happen is they're going to see that and say, oh, well, that doesn't fit my schedule, and then they're just going to move on.
Correct.
Whereas if you have a conversation with them.
If you're talking to a business customer, do you really think the business cares whether you show up at 2 a.m.?
Right.
Like they probably don't want to see you during certain times.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So
exactly.
But if you don't have the conversation with them, you would never know. You just don't want to be eliminated because your hours are weird.
Right. So don't post your hours. If you can't post hours that are inclusive of most of the time when people could use you, don't post any hours at all.
Yep.
Because the people are just going to skip over you. Oh, she must not be available at 9 o'clock in the morning or something.
Yeah.
Okay, then maybe they'll be there at 7. Who knows, right? So skip over that. All right. How do I accept payments? Like, is cash only acceptable or is taking Venmo, Cash App? All right. So you don't need to accept credit cards, okay? But you definitely want to give your customer some options, right?
Absolutely.
Cash is always king, of course, although not so much anymore.
No.
Cash is tough sometimes.
As a part-time business doing this on the side, you should absolutely encourage your customers to pay you with cash.
Yeah. No, you can encourage it, but if it's a business, they're going to have a difficult time doing that.
Correct.
Right? They can do a check.
Yep.
Right? Venmo's fine.
Yep.
Cash App's fine. Any of those cash
PayPal,
transactions, Zelle, whatever, right? They're all fine. You don't need to accept credit cards. Although there are systems out there now, I'm not going to plug any at the moment, but there are credit card systems out there now that you fill out the application, you get accepted, and you can actually pass on the transaction fee to the customer.
Correct.
But you click a button, and now the customer's paying the transaction fee. So if you charge them $50, you're getting $50. They're paying $53.80 or whatever.
So depending on where you are, you actually have to list the full price with the fees. But if you charge less for cash, you have to call it a cash discount. I think New Jersey is one of those states.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, you aren't allowed to have two separate prices for a cash and then credit card plus fees.
You would think as an attorney I would know that. I didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure that because it's
I'll have to look that one up.
It's part of what we have to deal with in the e-commerce
Some type
world.
of transparency pricing or
we
something.
We have to let them know if there's two different prices for paying two different ways.
Oh, that's interesting. But anyway, so aside of that, cash, check, and then any kind of cash transaction application is fine. Big fan of Bitcoin myself. Crypto is never an issue, although I would stick to the big two, Bitcoin and Ethereum. I wouldn't go anywhere else. And then, so that's how you accept payments. Now, as far as services go, I mean, that could be anything, right? Anything from cleaning the carpets to washing the windows to cleaning out the garage. Go ahead.
No, so... Yeah, and there's a ton of information about this online, right? So if you are a standard cleaning service, the rule of thumb is there's no deep cleaning. Like you don't clean out ovens, you don't clean out... there are certain things that you don't clean as part of a standard cleaning service. Like you don't clean anything from the shoulder up, for example.
Right.
So like if they have shelves and the top shelf is above shoulder height, you technically don't normally have to clean that top shelf. Same thing with business and stuff. Like they stipulate certain things in the contract, and anything you do beyond that technically is subject to a surcharge.
By the way, you said the key word, contract. No, I'm serious.
Have
a contract for your customers. But
yes. And that's really what you have to start by. That's the first step. Decide what is your standard service. What is included in that? What is in your contract that says, when I come to your house, I am cleaning these things for this price.
Right.
Right. And there's a cleaning calculator online, like cleaning service calculator,
yep.
where you can go in and type in either the square footage, the number of the rooms, the number of bathrooms, the number of toilets, the number of showers, if they want you to clean their oven, and it basically gives you a baseline price for what you should be charging.
Right.
Right? Because it's telling the consumer, will that adjust based on where you are? Yes. We probably pay a lot less here than someone in Manhattan, right? But really, I always come back to if you are a cleaner, if you're a house cleaner and someone says, hey, can you help me carry stuff out of my basement? The answer should be no.
Right.
Like you are not a trash hauler. You are not. Now, if let's say, so for example, my house, we have a guest room that is almost like an in-law suite. So my house cleaner does not clean the in-law suite. That's not part of what I hired her to do. But when I have people that are coming and staying with me, she gets paid a surcharge when she goes.
Right.
Correct. Perfectly fine. Would I ever ask her to help me bring down Christmas decorations from the attic?
Right.
Like, no. Right. So stick within what it is that is your core service. You can do things that are related to it. Like if they ask you, hey, can you do the outside of the windows as well? If it's all on one floor, you probably could, right?
What, you mean you don't want them up on a ladder scraping the windows?
Oh no, that's a smart move, right? Like get up on a ladder as a
right.
cleaning lady, right, or a cleaning company. So
that's the next thing I want to talk about is one of the things that wasn't mentioned here is insurance. Right, you're going to absolutely positively need to get insurance for this.
100%.
And one of the reasons is because you're going to people's houses.
Yep.
And that priceless Ming vase breaks, right? Which obviously you had nothing to do with, but now suddenly it's broken and they're blaming you.
Yes.
Right. That's number one. Number two, your point about not reaching up and stuff. Your insurance might limit you.
Yes.
Or you might get better rates if you say I only clean to shoulder level. Right. That reduces the possibility or the increased likelihood of breaking something, hurting yourself from stretching too much, workers' comp issues, et cetera, et cetera.
Things falling on you.
Exactly.
Like, there's all these things. Yeah.
And then if you do have insurance, I can promise you they're going to limit you to wanting to clean and not be carrying out debris and stuff like that from the basement. Mm-hmm. So you got to be very clear with your insurance company what your services are going to be.
Yep.
So that's another big part of it as well.
I always tell people when you're looking at expanding what you offer as a service, right? Look at franchises, right? Look at McDonald's, look at ServPro, look at any of these. They're very set in what you are allowed and not allowed to do. And it's not because they don't like. There's probably a McDonald's owner somewhere that would love to be able to serve a T-bone.
Right.
Right? Like
that happened. That used to happen originally. I don't know if you know that. Did you ever see the movie? The McDonald's movie? Yeah, that used to happen originally. So apparently when they were first giving out the McDonald's franchises, there were no standards.
Right.
And it was, you just have the name McDonald's and people were serving fried chicken and stuff like that. And they put the clamp on that immediately.
Yes.
And
right?
That's funny. You're right.
And it's also like, imagine going to Starbucks and ordering a burger.
Right.
Like you would be like, what?
It's just a matter of time, by the way.
Probably. But until they have a system in place where it fits in with other things that they're doing, they are not offering it. Right. And that's how every business should be operating is if you do this and then there's this shiny, bubble over here.
Right.
And they're like, oh, but I could get paid extra to do this shiny bubble thing. Right. Don't do it. Most of the time, that shiny bubble is a distraction.
Right.
That'll keep you away from. You would rather pick up an extra house to clean than get more work doing things that's not related to what you do.
Right.
Right. And that's the biggest trap. So on that side of it is, don't offer larger jobs. Just focus on the cleaning side. And you could offer. You can do add-on services. Like you can do once a year deep cleaning.
Right.
Right. Like
sure.
Where you're pulling out the cushion from the couches and you're vacuuming the couches and you might come in and deep clean cushions or like stuff like that. But don't start saying, hey, I'm going to help you put up Christmas decorations.
Right.
Like, no.
Right.
No.
And I'll tell you what. And we this is kind of what we were alluding to earlier as well. don't do too much. Don't get too big too fast, because then what starts happening is you don't do a good job because you're too busy rushing from job to job to try to get all your clients in. And then you do a bad job at people's house. Oh, no, I'm not working with you anymore. You missed this, that, or the other thing, right? That's number one. And then number two, when we were talking about the whole burnout thing a few minutes ago, your job as the person who owns, the whole me, myself, and I thing needs to be a temporary solution. Temporary.
Yes.
Right? You're doing that to start the business. Once the business starts growing, you hire people to assist you. And then you hire people to do the job for you while you're running the business. So this whole me, myself, and I thing is good to start, but it's not a permanent solution.
If you can find employees.
If you can find employees.
We just
touche.
Just saying.
Touche on that one. My gosh, it is difficult to find. I've never seen anything like this.
I know. I haven't either. Been in business
ever since the pandemic. You cannot find employees.
It predates that for us.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I would have, on a single job posting, I would have 50, 60 resumes, 20 interviews. People would all, it's ever since the pandemic, man. No one shows up. No one submits. The people that do submit resumes, 90% of them are unqualified for it.
Yeah. No, yeah. We had this problem even pre-pandemic.
Wow.
I remember, when did I hire my project manager? 7 years ago? 6 years ago? So 2 or 3 years prior to pandemic? Yeah, when we advertised that job, we got like 90 applications. We narrowed it down to 10 people we contacted.
And one showed up.
No, we booked 10 interviews and 3 people showed up. And we ended up hiring from that. And the person that showed up, I called them the day of their interview and I was like, "Hey, remember you called us to reschedule your interview for today?
Yeah.
It was supposed to be tomorrow, but you called us and asked if we could do it today." She's like, "I forgot." "Can you come tomorrow?" She came the following day. She walks in and goes, "It was my bad." She's like, "I had something that day. It got canceled and I forgot to move the stuff on my calendar." She's like, "I totally own it. My mistake. Like, I apologize."
Okay.
And I was like, the fact that she was able to own it actually
That's
made
huge.
made me want to hire her more because she owned the mistake.
Hold on. She took responsibility. What a concept. What an idea.
Right. But yeah, it was one of those where I was like, that was a really blunt answer. Like, and you owned it. You owned 100% of it.
Right.
Yeah. It's funny.
All right. So anyway, that's the world. That's what happens. So small businesses starting a cleaning company, very doable.
Oh yeah.
I don't think there's, honestly, that's something that's both oversaturated and needs more people anyway.
Correct.
It doesn't matter.
Yes.
Just don't do it. Don't do it with the short-term mind of I just want to make a few bucks.
Yeah.
If you're going to start a business, start a business. Yes. All right, moving on. Caro Deal. Couple questions on wholesaling. Ooh, okay, this could be interesting.
That's not my forte anymore.
I don't think it's either of ours, but that's okay. We opened our online shop 9 weeks ago, and we've had a lot of interest in the wholesale, which is something we knew even before opening the business we wanted to get into. We're in the garment decoration niche, targeting U.S. and Canada. Most of the products we sell are between $9 and $10. How do we question one, how do we come with a fair wholesale price for our product that would still cover our costs, which is about $4 to $5 on average, and generate profit? I hear retailers expect 50% discounts, but that obviously would give us close to nothing back. When people use our product, they can sell what they make with it between 45 and 50. 45 and 70. We've thought of giving a discount break of 5% per item, which would bring the price to around $9.49 for the most expensive item. What are your thoughts? 2, what's the easiest way to do this on Shopify without having to pay for an app, et cetera, et cetera? Okay, so we'll just stick with the first part, which is how do you give discounts in the wholesale world? So it costs them about $4 to $5 to make the product plus their costs, right? Mm-hmm. And they've been selling it for about double, about 9 to 10.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
So 100% margins.
Yeah.
So most of these types of programs and most wholesalers that I buy from, it's a volume discount, right? So some of them calculate my volume by year.
Yep.
Some of them do it by order, right? So like if I need to order 100 of this item, they're going to give me X, Y, and Z discount. But the ones where we're ordering it constantly
Right.
throughout the year, they add up. Whatever I bought this year, that becomes my discount next year.
Right.
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 And they may and we do the same thing for some of our larger customers. Is I'll start you at the year at like a 5% discount or a 10% discount, and once you hit certain milestones in dollars, not in items ordered, but in dollars, I will knock an extra 2% off.
Okay.
Right? So you
So
have
you're giving them incentive.
100%.
Yeah.
Right. Like it should be a two-way street. So the more they order, the bigger discounts they get. So it's a win-win, right? Like it discourages them from using other vendors.
Mm-hmm.
It encourages them to buy from us.
Sure.
And it's a win-win. But yeah, I would always do you have to base it on volume, not some arbitrary number that you pull out of a hat.
Right. Of course.
Right? Not unless trust me, if Walmart calls you and says, "Hey, we want to order a container's worth,"
Right.
I'll guarantee you your cost of production will go down, right?
Oh,
And
sure.
So, yeah, but this is something they got to think through, but volume should be the determining factor in pricing, not...
I agree entirely. At the same time, you can't sell it for $3 and it costs you $4 to sell, right?
Correct.
And you don't want to sell it for $4 either because you make no money.
Mm-hmm.
Do you suggest that there maybe is a threshold or you don't, or something you don't go below, right?
You have to figure out like what is the absolute least you're willing to take for the product, right? If it costs you $4,
Right.
if $6 is your absolute minimum price that you're willing to sell it for, you come up with a discount program that starts at retail level and then steps down to that $6 level.
Based on bulk.
So only your top customer should be paying the $6, right?
Right.
If they're buying 1 million units a year, right, you can sell it at $6 a piece.
Yeah, because you're making two.
But correct.
2 million, right?
But if they're buying $10,000 worth, you might want to say no. I need at least $750 for those transactions, right? So you can make it a volume, but you have to start by figuring out what is my rock bottom pricing and how many units would they have to order for them to get that price.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes the most sense there. Exactly. So it's almost like when you're forecasting, right? You're trying to say, okay, this is how much we're going to need for this product. You can even do it based off of quantity. So if we sell 100 of them, this is how much we need to make because there's a difference. It's like when you're running a printing press, right? If it's all in the setup. The setup's the thing, right? And then the difference between 5,000 and 50,000 is just maybe an hour or two of it printing.
Correct.
Whereas it took you the 4 hours of setting it up regardless, right? And it's the same thing here. There's going to be a hard cost with getting the product set up, so to speak, right? Or ordering it, getting it in-house, storing it, whatever it is you need to do, there's going to be a hard cost associated with that. So I would look kind of like you suggested at incremental numbers, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. What is the bare minimum you would be willing to accept from that? And like you said, that's your best customer. That's the bare minimum. And then you increase from that based off of the if this is going to be a one-time order, if this is someone, you're trying to get in with Nordstrom or something like that, and you want to give them a great deal, or if it's, Joe's retailer down the street who you're probably never going to hear from again,
Correct.
right? And you can give them different pricing based off that.
Or
you can even get them to sign longer-term contracts, right? Every 6 months, we're going to deliver you 10,000 of these. That's going to be a lower price than the person who just wants 10,000 once.
Yep. And if they're using your item to create another item, then they should be able to buy it in bulk, right? So
absolutely.
Think of like NVIDIA, Intel. I shouldn't say nobody. The vast majority of people are not out there buying stuff directly from NVIDIA.
Right.
Right? It's other manufacturers that are buying their products and putting them inside of
Correct.
another product. So as she rightfully says in there too is, if I'm able to buy a chip, I'm putting it into something else. The chip may cost me $5, but because of that chip going inside of my other product, I can sell that for $500.
Yeah.
That $5 chip is worth a lot more, right?
Yes.
To me, because it took my product and potentially increased the value of that from $300 to $500. So it's a twofold, but bottom line, figure out your bottom line price and set the highest quantity. Well, I don't care what that quantity. If it's 100,000, it's 100,000.
Yeah.
And then design your program accordingly.
Exactly. Yeah. So good luck to you, Caro Deal. We're rooting for you. Send us some of the items. I'd like to see what it is. I'm kind of curious.
I'm curious what it is too.
I'm thinking like little studs or something that get put on jeans or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what it could be. All right, we have time for one more.
Is that what bedazzling was back
That
in
was
the day?
yeah. That's why I think of bedazzling. That's what it is. That's why I'm thinking about that bedazzling. My daughter used to do that stuff. All right. Let's see.
Oh.
Okay, I'm curious. All right, used employee 955 says, or 9555 says, what steps do I need to take to commit to starting a self-employed small engineering and fabrication business? My business will consist of my original CAD designs of custom performance auto parts, producing the parts and assembling the parts as a kit for sale. I like it already. I do already have some interest and demand for my product, even though I haven't made one sale yet or have done any advertising. People have been reaching out to me through socials to inquire. This business consists of design and engineering and fabrication. I have a few production prototypes in the works. The final product should be available by next month. I will be the sole employee and owner. Problem is, I have no idea what I need to do from a legal perspective to run a business. I haven't come up with the proper name for the business. Starting off, I plan to sell my products through eBay. I don't have a website. Do I need to worry about patenting my products? What do I need to do to register my license for my business, etc., etc.? Filing for taxes, all those good things. Well, he's asking all the right questions, and that's great. You really are. You are asking absolutely all the right questions, because a lot of times people, and you've seen, and even in this show, the question is, how do I grow my business? How do I make money in my business? But they don't ask about all the stuff that has to happen before you even do that, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to start with the legal side, right? Before you accept $1, form your business. Get your LLC or your corporation before you accept $1, because what happens is, if you take money from someone before your business is formed, you are taking money as an individual. And if that product explodes, hurts their car, causes damage, falls off and hits another car, something happens, you could personally be liable for that. And that means any savings you have, your wages, your house, if you have kids in a college, all that stuff is accessible to a lawsuit. Whereas if you have an LLC or a corporation, you're protected from that liability, and only the assets of the LLC are at risk. So if you have $10,000 in the LLC account and $200,000 in your personal account, and you get sued for $1 million and lose, personally, your $200,000 is up for grabs. But if the LLC gets sued and lose, only the $10,000 in the LLC's account is up for grabs. Your $200,000 is safe. So first and foremost, get your. I don't care if it's on eBay or where it's at, because when you are selling products, physical products, there is product manufacturer liability, and this is something that is in the law. It is just there. Nothing you can't contract your way out of it. If your product harms another person, intentionally or not, and most of the time it's not intentional, intentionally or not, you may very well be financially responsible for whatever happens to that person, whether it's everything from a simple laceration on their fingers to someone dying, right? You could very well financially be responsible. Secondly, is we have what's called a warrant of merchantability, which means that a warranty of merchantability, which means that your product is going to be useful for whatever you're saying it's supposed to be used for. So if it's supposed to enhance, let's say it's enhancing the engine somehow, and it's supposed to make the car faster. I'm just making this up. I don't know. And someone goes through the trouble of buying it, pays a few thousand to get it installed, and it does absolutely nothing. You could be on the hook for liability for selling a product that didn't do what it was supposed to do. Warranty of merchantability. Okay, so there's a bunch of things out there you need to protect against. So getting your LLC formed first is the most crucial thing here, so that you're not personally responsible. Secondly, go get your insurance. If you're going to be selling products, you got to have insurance to protect against any potential lawsuits and things like that. Because a lot of the times, what happens is the value of the lawsuit isn't the issue. It's the attorney's fees that are involved, right? Whereas the person might only sue you for $15,000, but it's going to cost you $30,000 in attorney's fees to defend it. Right? If you have insurance, your insurance company will take on that burden. So insurance is incredibly important in the situation. As far as things like patents go, it depends on what you're trying to do, what your product is. Is it something that's incredibly unique, or is it just something that's you built on something else that's already out there? Speak with a patent attorney about that. I would highly recommend, talk to an attorney who specializes in intellectual property. Don't just talk to any general attorney. Someone who specializes in intellectual property, specifically patents, would definitely be the way to go. Those people don't realize this, but the patent bar is actually separate from the regular bar. So when you go and take the regular bar and you become an attorney, you can't actually just go into patents. Like you could criminal law or family law or whatever. Once you pass the bar, you pass the bar, except for patents. Patents has its own bar that you have to study. I know, it's crazy.
I didn't know that.
It's really tough, too. I studied for it for a while and decided I didn't want to get into patents. Because what I found out is once you're in patents, you're in patents. That's it. You're a patent attorney. And you're not doing anything else because it's so intricate. So the patent bar has its own bar. So look for a patent attorney, someone who specializes in intellectual property. All right. Now, with all that being said and the legal side taken care of, your turn.
I love what he says. Start selling your products on eBay.
Yeah.
See if they sell. Do you need a website? You can set up a basic one get a Wix website. It's good enough to get you started because you're not using the website for anything other than possibly listing what your return policy is.
I do have a question. On a Wix website, because I haven't used one in years, can you accept credit cards? Do they have a system for you to accept credit cards?
So I think Wix has like a shopping feature.
Okay.
But he's saying he's just going to sell it on eBay. So eBay would handle the transactions, the merchant fees.
Yes, but if you have a website, you're saying link it over to your eBay listing to sell.
Correct.
Because you have to buy it on eBay.
Correct.
But what if he does want to sell his own product? Like I know Shopify.
Yeah, you can do Shopify as well.
You can create a Shopify site and you'll be accepting credit cards already. You don't have to apply for all that stuff like you do. I don't know if Wix has that or not.
I think Wix has some kind of shopping feature, but they are not Shopify by any stretch of the imagination. Okay. But the reason I'm saying is start with Wix is because if you are going to sell this through eBay and this is a small prototyping business at first, there is no point in getting into the cost because Shopify can get expensive really quick. So if you're not actually selling products, Wix is a much better choice.
Yep.
Because all you're really doing is putting up a few pictures, who you are, how to get in touch with you. If people have, you might have an FAQ section on installation procedures, or how to download an install manual if this is something that has to be installed. Other than that, I love the idea of selling on a third-party platform, Etsy, eBay.
Right.
Like any of these are fantastic. Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah. We were talking earlier about TikTok having a shop and YouTube having a shop, things like that.
So those are slightly different because they're not like one-off type sales?
No, sure. But you could still show your products, what they do, show them inside of a car, and start getting transactions that way too.
Correct. So, but I would link all that stuff. I would, when you're starting, start with a single commerce store. Start with an eBay or an Amazon, like whatever it is, start with one before you start expanding into other shops. Generally, when you get to that point, you're actually using a third-party system that manages your listing across all the platforms.
Yeah.
Right. But start with a Wix website. Start selling your stuff on eBay. Honestly, when you're first starting out, I'm not sure that your name matters a ton.
No.
Because you can always rebrand, rename it.
But I would say this: if you're building custom auto parts, you should be doing 3 to 4 videos a day and posting those videos, on social media, TikTok, YouTube, whatever, Facebook, showing what you do.
Yeah, that's the marketing side of things, right?
Absolutely.
What's the best way to handle filing for taxes, all this? So I honestly...
Get an accountant. Done.
Correct. But like, I don't think we ever plug this. But if you are this guy in this situation, the first thing I would tell you to do is you don't know any of this stuff, right? And you're going to have to go out and research it and find people and all this stuff. go visit something like a Latip networking group or a BNI network,
or something like that.
Something
right?
where you have almost all of the categories and all of the knowledge that you need in one room, and then simply stand up and say, hey, I'm new to business.
Right.
I need help. Who here should I be
your
talking
local
to?
chamber of commerce will have
Chamber
something
of
like
Commerce.
that. Yeah.
Like
these networking groups are huge for that
correct.
kind of stuff.
But go into someone, like go into your chamber and say, hey, listen, I'm starting a business. I don't know who I should be talking to. Can you guys give me 2 or 3 names of people I could call, right? And they will give you a CPA. They will give you the patent attorney. They will give you the website guy. They will give you the marketing company that you can talk to, right? And it doesn't mean that those are your permanent vendors, but it at least allows you to start a vetting process with local businesses where you can go and have a cup of coffee with them and go, listen, I got some questions. Is that okay?
Yeah, and you start getting answers. You start getting knowledge. You start understanding more about the business you're about to get into.
Correct. And I think this question specifically is far more about that than how to expand it. Like this is literally, I want to start a fabrication business. What do I do?
Right.
That would be my answer is go talk to your chamber. They will even put you in touch with someone that can help form your business. They can put you in touch with someone that can help you come up with a name. Like they're going to have networking groups within the chamber where you can go and talk to other business owners. Some chambers even have like specific entrepreneur and startup groups where you can go talk to other people that are literally in your shoes, right? That are starting a business in the same community you are, that are going to have the same problems. Like it's a fantastic way to get a lot of your questions answered. And
all right.
Chambers are totally underestimated.
Chambers are fantastic. Yeah.
And they're totally underestimated by startups, by new businesses.
Yep. All right, man. Well, good luck to you, used employee. I love the idea of the car parts fabrication. That's great. That could be a big business. You could do a lot with that if you make good stuff.
There's a guy up the street that we did some work for, let's say like 3 years ago. But same thing. He started making like a custom thing for one carbon. He like made a part for Jeeps. Yeah. Because they're the most modified vehicle ever.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And then that expanded into, he made it for like a Ford Bronco. It wasn't a Bronco at the time, but it was like a Ford Expedition or Explorer. And then he made another version for the Chevy because they're all like slightly different.
Yeah.
And he sells all of his stuff using social media, has an online store now, all that stuff. It's
very
fantastic.
cool.
Oh, yeah. And it grew quickly.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, hopefully this worked out for this guy too.
I hope so too. I love these types of businesses that actually get into like fabrication and selling actual products.
Yep. I know. It's great. It's great. And it gives me tingles inside.
I know.
I want to be a part
too.
of that. All right, man. I think we're out of time. So good talking to you.
You too.
We'll catch up next week.
Absolutely.
All right.